hearing stories after story that it takes forever to get a license. There's take a long time to get to get approval, to get the ramps, and there's like almost every week there is yet another problem. And sometimes the approval is so late that most of the season is gone. So Councillor Fletcher, Councillor Carroll, and I stood out on the patio on Danforth Avenue and promised that we are going to make changes to the program. And we promised to get it back on track for small businesses and the workers and the local neighborhood, for all the people that wants to sit in the patio and enjoy our city. We know that having a place to sit out when the sun is shining or in the evening with lights on, and sometimes your neighbor walk by and you say hello, the vibe of the street, of the restaurant, and having some friends, having a meal together under a warm sky and warm weather as the sky changed color in the evening. It's just a beautiful experience. It's good for the neighborhood. It's great for the restaurants, and it actually even helped all the businesses around, not just restaurants, because as more people are on the street, the more they're going to be able to shop, the better it is for the entire neighborhood. Which is why all the business improvement areas said, Mayor Chow, fix this. And, well, we fixed it. Working with our amazing city staff, the BIAs, the restaurant owners, they gave us concrete examples on what needs to be fixed, and by gosh, we got it done. And this year, more curb lane patios were able to open sooner than ever. We had 304 curb lanes cafe this year, 60 new operators, 1,400 patios participated in the programs. Now, we said that by Victoria Day, you've heard me say that, by Victoria Day in May, we would have 90% of the patio installed. And guess what? By Victoria Day, even before Victoria Day, we have 95% of the patio installed, thanks to our excellent staff. We make the portal, application portal, a lot easier to use because it was like very complicated. We simplified it. We started it earlier. We make changes so restaurant, cafe, bar owners could just renew their applications easily. Because if you've done it the year before, it shouldn't be so hard to just say yes to the next year since you have the experience. And we also added extra staff from to this program to make sure that the small businesses get the support they need. Now, these measures save time and money for small businesses. It created more certainty so business could plan out the summer, hired more staff, focus on what is most important, which is the good food, right? Rather than dealing with City Hall and serving their customers. Those two are the most important things: good food and good service. So we heard really positive feedback from restaurant operators and from the BIAs about the 2024 CaféTO program. We heard CaféTO save our business. And we also heard that they appreciate the streamlined process this year, especially the additional support staff. And they are very encouraged that more restaurants to participate next year, especially those in areas that doesn't have as many outdoor dining options. You and I know CaféTO is good for communities, good for business, and the economic benefit is clear. Councillor uh, Fletcher said that it delivered just in 2022 $200 million of economic benefits to the city. This is according to Tabia, which is the Association for Business Improvement Areas. It's worthwhile investment for our whole city. And I want to thank the Federal Development Ontario for its generous support for CaféTO Property Improvement Grant for cafe operators. I also want to thank City Council for and city staff, BIAs, restaurant bars, operators, and the customer who gave us ideas and helped us fine tune the program. And because of our collective effort, we made the program a great success this year. And it's that collaboration that is so important. It's also about putting one department in charge because earlier on last year there were quite a few departments that are all doing their thing, and but the fact that we put transportation department in charge and get everything streamlined, it worked out. I want to especially thank Councillor Fletcher for your work. Thank you to Tony from Greek Town on the Danforth BIA, to our host here, Chef Mustafa, and that is Gokhan Godwin. Yeah, of Turkish food, one of the hundreds of excellent restaurants participating in this year's CaféTO. Let me tell you, you're gray and it's very, the way you decorate this place is very elegant. I can't wait to come by and have a bite. And this program show that when we work together, we can get our city back on track. We can get little things fixed, fixing programs like CaféTO and making our city more livable. And I'm looking forward to the 2025 CaféTO program. And I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
There are a number of people throughout the city, sorry for the truck going by, that speaks to some of the issues that exist in this city and the congestion when you've got more patios than ever taking up the space on the streets, potentially adding to the congestion. This spread may not be an example of that, but there are many throughout the rest of the city where it's posing problems.
Well, I see that uh, we are a growing city. We are economically vibrant. People love the nightlife and the parks and all the things one could do. And this is okay. And we have people that like to cycle and other people that like to drive. Um, and the best way to deal with congestion is really investing in public transit. What is most encouraging is that a bigger number of people are now taking public transit. There are more people cycling. You can see the number of bikes that are going by. Every one of those that are taking transit and walking, because it's a beautiful street to walk by, and those that are cycling, they're not driving, which really helps with the lessen the congestion. So on Danforth Avenue, it has always been parking, bike lanes, and roads. You know that one lane. It hasn't. I don't believe it contributed much. Some people said if you do this, then you're taking out some parking spot. But there's parking spots in the in other streets. But as long as it really helped the small businesses in the area, is something that's worthwhile to do. The other thing is that um, in all a lot of these programs is sponsored by the business improvement area. They won't do the sponsorship if they don't think that it is good for their neighborhood, because they are the ones that represent all the small businesses in the area, and they work very closely with the residents association. So if you have residents and the businesses working together, coming out with a program like this, um, it's uh, it's a recipe for success.
Mayor, sorry to switch topics. I have a question about the PD market. And a group of residents there say it took a call to the premier to get that cleaned up. There were complaints about garbage, rats, beetles. What happened there?
I don't know the history. I'm not the local councillors. Perhaps you can check.
Did the premier call you?
No, the premier did not call me. The premier texted a photo, and said that, ooh, we need to do something. I looked at the photo. I thought, yeah, this is pretty sad. And if you go there today, it's it's cleaned up. My office regularly, every day, I shouldn't say hundreds, but a large number of requests, anywhere from eviction prevention programs, or having a cleaner street, or uh, last year about CaféTO, before we fixed it. Uh, we get in my office a large number of things in the city that needs fixing, and it doesn't matter who calls us. As long as we know that it is a problem, we ask the staff to take appropriate action.
Tony, can I just ask you a question there, Tony? Just as far as all the issues that we've heard about before, this year, I'm just wondering, is your membership saying that there's a couple things you'd still like to see cleaned up for next year? Like, are there still some issues that you'd like to see smoothed out a little bit?
For the CaféTO?
Yes.
A lot of the issues have already been smoothed out, and part of that was the application process. And you've done it before in the past through COVID. This year, for myself and my own business, it was easy as everything was already there. It was minutes rather than collecting documentation and going back to the beginning. It saved hours for what we want to be putting into our small businesses rather than filling out application forms. So this year's streamline was extremely beneficial for myself and most of my members in Greektown, making it easier for us so we can focus on our businesses rather than paperwork and application forms.
What time were you up and running this year versus last year?
Sorry?
What time were you up and running this year versus last year?
6 weeks earlier this year. We got ours again before the May long weekend, which allowed us the opportunity. That extra revenue stream is huge. As long as the weather is participating like it is today, the CaféTO program for our restaurants and local businesses, whether it's a shop, a retail, professional services, just allows more foot traffic for us. And that to us is our livelihood, is exactly what we need.
Can you quantify, I mean, what kind of difference that made for you in terms of money and dollars?
The weeks earlier?
Yeah, getting it. I mean, this year versus last, how did it impact your bottom line?
So I impact the bottom line. The season's not quite done yet, but I can tell you in those first few weeks, we all in the hospitality restaurant industry go through our cycles, and the earlier you can start in your busier summer season, which is our cafe patio season, the easier it is to kind of help catch up as small business so you can kind of keep forging forward in the challenges that face all the small businesses in the city.
Sorry, just on that note, a question for the mayor and the councilor. Do we know how much money was injected into the economy last year and this year?
We don't know. We don't have that figure yet. We will get that figure. We'll work with Tabia to get the actual number. We don't know yet, right? Yeah, but we do know that just from anecdotal response, the fact that they are able to start much earlier this year is the predictability. Because when you apply, if you don't know when you're going to get it, then are you hiring staff? If you hire staff, you can't get them started, right? It's the predictability, it's the certainty, faster, easier, less red tape.
Mayor, this morning on News Talk.
With respect to the businesses, last year, this is for you, Mayor. Last year, the fees were increased after a bit of a debacle in terms of how much businesses were going to have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
This year, that was increased by a third. Next year, it's back up to a full price for these businesses. They're going to have to pay to be a part of this program. How do you expect that to impact the amount of businesses that take part? And is that still going to be the case? Are you going to potentially increase the rates that we have?
To balance that, we also provide grants up to $7,500, which is matching 50% of the cost of patio improvements, which helps set up the patio, which that's important. And we also support the BIA because they're nonprofit, that support all the local businesses. As you know, the BIA program, uh, whatever the BIA put in, we match 50% of it. So we need to recruit some of the funds because we have extra staff. It takes a bit of more work, so we don't want to completely load it onto the property tax. So since the restaurant owners are economically benefiting quite a bit, there are a lot more tables because of it. So we're asking them to give us a small percentage of that, since they are literally expanding the restaurant by a good percentage. So we thought that is fair, and we gradually phased it in.
Mayor, as you know, a police officer was shot this week near Yonge and
Yes.
Eglinton, and on News Talk 10, the president of the Police Association, John Reed, was critical and raising concerns about your support of police, saying you didn't go to the hospital, that you do send tweets when things happen to police officers, but is concerned about the overall support you show, and that it affects morale of the police officers. What do you have to say to
Yeah.
that?
On the night that the officers were shot, um, Chief Damque, Police Chief Damque, and I texted each other. We then have a phone call at around 6:30 or thereabouts. So, I then, of course, immediately put out a statement. I sent a text to ask him on my behalf, um, send regards to the officer. He also provided confidential information to me as to how the officer is doing, and Chief Dan Pugh and I had that conversation. I also said to him, and I also said that I thank all the officers. I text a message to him directly that serve Torontonians every day, and that we're just very grateful for their services. Um, and He knew where I was. I was at the Chief Matthew Pegg retirement event, and I was at 7 or some 30 or thereabouts. I was the speaker representing the city of Toronto. I could not tear away to go to the hospital. So I also said to the chief, whatever I can do, whether to visit or send flowers, that he would let me know. And that night, because of that official function, um, and the fire chief just retired yesterday after having incredible services. This is Matthew Pegg. I thought that I made a decision to stay because it's important that when he's speaking and when his family is there, I should, on behalf of the City of Toronto, walk out. So, and whatever the police association want me to say, at uh, that was that evening. Okay.
Mayor, can I ask you a question?
For Tony. Tony, can you put into Taste of the Danforth didn't happen this year, which is massive, right? What kind of hit, to not have Taste of the Danforth does it mean to the businesses here, and now to have, this more stable CaféTO program? Can you put it into perspective? Does it fill the hole at all? Like, can you talk about this?
I can. We've kind of listened to everybody. We understand that, we all missed the taste and what it meant to the city of Toronto and Greektown in itself. We are working on a signature event for next year. The CaféTO program has kind of helped every business who participated in kind of elongating their season. It started earlier. Specific impacts to businesses for with taste or not taste. I think we all know that it's missed. We are listening. We understand that. We are rethinking as Greektown what we're going to do moving forward. There is a signature event that we are discussing. But we've had a vibrant kind of year as well. The CaféTO program has been fantastic. We have our opening of our new Alexander the Great Parquet. We had a fantastic music series in September. We are working on a number of events that impact and support our businesses in Greektown.
Mayor Chow,
Mayor,
a question for you about the island ferry service. You requested city staff come and brief you about safety on those vessels. I'm wondering if you,
On where?
on the island ferry vessels.
Oh, yes, yes.
At executive committee this
That's
week.
right.
I'm wondering if you felt like you had to do that because public trust in that service has been eroded so badly.
I wanted the presentation from city staff. I want to ensure the public that the ferry is safe. We hired more staff accord, in accordance with Transport Canada recommendation. There are all these operations improvements which we've done. We also, with the maintenance piece, is very important, so we are doing that. As you know, we have ordered electric ferries, and we also want to make sure the public knows that. We're also looking at other forms where we could lease some ferries for next summer. Let's hope it works out, and so that the lineup won't be as long. I just want to say, however, we've known since 2017, Paula. I think 27. We've known since 2017, 2018, that we needed new ferries. Those ferries are very old. You can only patch them up for that long. And until 2024, we did not put the order in, okay, for any new number of reasons. So as soon as I saw the situation, I said, hang on, we need to have better support, we need more people, we need new ferries. And I'm glad that the electric ferries have been ordered. And on the council, the executive committee, we also said we need to make sure that we can charge these electric ferries. So you saw a report to say that let us make sure the docks have good chargers, and then the dock would have, because they can take more people. So let's make sure that the dock is designed well, that it can charge the electric ferries. And so going forward, I'm feeling comfortable that the service is safe, better managed, and new ferries coming.
Mayor, I have a question.
Do you
Mayor,
want to add on about that? No, it's okay.
Mayor, I have a question for you.
Mayor, just Mark's question earlier on CaféTO. I didn't hear an answer.
About money.
I specifically want to ask: does CaféTO make congestion worse in
Oh,
Toronto?
does CaféTO make congestion worse? We can take a look at it, but
You don't know?
well, it depends on which area. Whether it's worse or not worse, what I do want to say though, the economic benefits and that feeling of belonging in a neighborhood is priceless. And sometimes some people, if they drive by, they don't necessarily park and shop in the area. So, but to be able to expand the cafe season, the restaurant, I want to protect the small businesses because it's tough. Running a restaurant is tough, especially in the winter. That's the hard month, right? The January and the February and the March. And then something very magical happens. The sun comes out and it warms up. Everybody wants to get out and eat out in a cafe outdoor. Well, we want to harness that and make sure that we create a place where people can dine together and really help the survival of small businesses. You know, Toronto is a growing city and we're vibrant. And because we have the taste of everything everywhere, yes, we close the street sometimes. Am I going to stop the taste of Little Italy because it will cause some traffic jams? No. Am I going to say no to TIFF to close off King Street because the stars, international stars, are coming to Toronto and they need a bit of a space for the red carpet? No. So all of those are really important in a city that is growing and is incredibly vibrant.
Question for
Mayor?
You mentioned that there's 31 BIAs that have participated this year. That's not even half of the BIAs in the city. For those that are not participating, why? What is it? Is it lack of money? Is it they don't get as much foot traffic? Like, what are the reasons that they're?
It could be any number of reasons. Maybe some of the restaurants are in the neighborhood are not as familiar as dining outside. Some of the BIAs actually they have this year we did something quite different. It's not precisely a CaféTO program, but we said to in the suburbs, let's say in Scarborough, they have strip malls, right? And they have restaurants. We're saying that they can now take a table, a chair out and into their little mall and reorganize the parking, put some beautiful flowers around, and we could assist them. And in fact, that has happened in some of the areas. If you talk to Councillor Michael Thompson, for example, in some of the areas that he represented, he has encouraged that to happen. So as we grow the program, as we grow it outside the old city of Toronto, especially in areas that have less this kind of dining. There are many formats. It doesn't have to be one size fit all. And we said, and some of them did pick up our, since we just allowed it, they now have tables and chairs outside. We also said to some of the restaurants that if they want to have some entertainment, and they don't have to have a very complicated rules because it was quite because that law was really for downtown entertainment district at the time. So we relaxed some of the laws to allow restaurants to have entertainments in there, which then helped them grow their business. So we did quite a few of those things to encourage the small business to
Mayor?
make sure they are economically viable.
Mayor Madison's question, just one follow up to what you mentioned regarding the congestion. You said you can take a look at it. It may worsen congestion in some areas. Which areas?
I don't know. I really don't know. I would imagine if it doesn't work, the transportation department, which is also responsible for easing congestions, would say no, right? So I am sure we have quite a few people from our staff from transportation department. If you want them to comment, they could do that. Who wants to tackle this? Okay.
Hi, I'll speak to this. So most of our CaféTO, Antonia Marcos, a lot of our CaféTO curbside patios actually are placed within lanes that are typically used for parking. So in the majority of locations, I think there's only maybe a couple that are closing a lane, but these lanes would typically be closed for parking.
Yeah. Because Kingston Road has parking, but not like it's like many thoroughfares. It goes one way during 3 to 6, the other way 9 to, right? But those lanes aren't on for the summer. So can you talk to that? Does that worsen congestion?
Last question.
Yeah, we will do a technical briefing with maps and everything, but let me ask to answer a question in Kingston Road.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll get you that info. I mean, the CaféTO program was set to support small businesses that were really struggling coming out of a pandemic. And sometimes, you just kind of have to make those choices. We see the benefit to all these small businesses that CaféTO is bringing to them. And it really, truly is something that they need in order to survive. So here you go.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Just 1 second.
I'll just say that I have a number of streets like that, not Danforth, but Gerard tends to be like that. And it's basically at peak time. So it's in the morning when you're coming downtown or in the evening when you're going home. And everybody knows they're there. Slow down for a bit and continue on Gerard
So you're
Street.
taking those lanes out.
Well, we're taking them out to park, that lane's gone for that period of time for the economy of the city. There's a balance and it's parking now, you can park there, you should be able to park on that side of the street. And you're recovering some parking. So I think that's all the technical questions that you can have answered here with maps and everything else, because we're always reviewing this and we hear from a lot of people, but we mostly hear from the businesses and the diners that this is a program that's keeping business alive. Remember, and it's a rearview mirror pandemic, but small business is still not recovered from 3 years of pandemic and difficulty. So one of the jobs of the city is to make sure that happens. And these districts are a little different than downtown Central Core, which has different traffic problems than Gerard, Kingston Road, Queen Street, etc. So happy to have that technical briefing for you as soon as we wrap up.
Mayor,
I just wanted one comment that where I'm standing on used to be parking. This is the parking spot. These are parking spots. So parking spots, taking away the parking spot is not taking away a lane. It does not add to congestion. That's all I need to say.
Mayor,
Thank you. Wrapping. You can ask that right away. Yeah, you can come up and ask. Thank you very much.
Want to ask that question?
yes.
Here?
That's all I was thinking.
Same question.